Yo, it's your boy QuickSilver. I'm going to do a basic coding 101 freestyle video. So, today I'm just going to show you guys the basics of MUGEN coding, tips, what to keep your eyes out for, how to spot a few errors, things like that. So, what I'm going to do is go ahead and open up, let's see, the Evolution 2 beta. Now, I'm not about to extract this. I'm just going to go to the folder through WinRAR, and I want you guys to boot up to your system.def folder or file. Okay. Now, as you see, you basically get this. This will be the basic, You'll have this kind of setup. It may not have all the information like this, but this is the setup. Alright, you'll see your files here. In this dictionary, you'll have your files, set up. Where your sprites are, SPRs and sprite, S and D as in sound, of course. And it basically locates where your SFF file and your S and D files are, for your sprites and for your music. The logo and storyboard. Here you can see like the logo. Usually these are placed in like the beginning of the startup of the MUGEN executed file. Same for the intro, but you can do all kind of manipulations like loading screens and press start screens. And your common select.def file. Same for your fonts. Just locates where the files are. Music. Basically, as you can see up here, it'll tell you the instructions on how to use this. You type in where you're gonna put your music, your title screen, your select screen, versus victory for 1.0 users. And here is where the coding starts to kick into place, kind of, but not really. It's the basic title screen definition. Your fade in time, your fade out time, basically when MUGEN turns on the weight, from it being black to going to transparent, so you can actually see things. It's like a fade in and kind of fade out effect. How long that effect lasts is right up here. The menu position, the font, active font, and spacing. Here you see like arcade, but I have a special type of font in Evolution 2, so I got these set up as letters. Let's not go into depth on that, but your margins, visible items, stuff like that. Usually these are basically the text, and like the basic box cursor that highlights your text. So yeah. Alright, now coding. The basic type of coding, what I would say, would be a basic sprite, just like a visible sprite. And how you get those are, let me hit this menu overlay. This will do. Alright, so usually it'll look like this. It'll be a sprite, usually with a pink background or black background, if you like to do your sprites and index them like mine. It usually looks like this. This bar right here tells what screen it's in. So this is the title background. You name it whatever you want. So when you're coding, whenever you get an error, you'll be able to go back and check your coding. It'll tell you the type of sprite. Now there's normal and there's animation. Normal is basically like a picture. Animation is a rotation of pictures. It's like a lot of pictures, like a video. Sprite number, basically when you go into Fighter Factory, you'll have your sprite group and your sprite number. Your sprite group is like a set of sprites that you have specifically set for one purpose, like a character stand animation. Let's say his sprite group is 22. Now if you want his stand animation to be 10 sprites, you would have to have them ordered 0 through 10. So you would have to describe the group number. So let's say that this was a stance, it would be 22. And if I wanted to specifically say what sprite I want to show, it'd either be 1 through whatever amount of sprites you have. Now The next one I want to show you guys is it's a different type of normal. It's right here. It's a different type of normal because MUGEN itself moves it. Now it's not an animation, but it does move, and it does have effects that you can pull off. So the normal ones aren't really all that normal. They're kind of, you can move around with them. You can have fun and you have a ton of options with them. So right here in this clouds one, it's a basic picture, a sprite. It's normal, sprite group, sprite number. The trans, as in transparency, you can go to add, which turns the pink to transparent, basically see-through, or the black to see-through, or whatever color you have indexed to be able to see through. Now keep in mind, when you're designing your sprites, you do have to pay attention when I say this. You do have to index it. Now the color that you choose to index as like the background or whatever will be the color that Fighter Factory or MUGEN turns transparent. So there's different types of like add, alpha, there's sub, there's a lot of different kind of transparency, but the basic is add. The alpha is just basically telling the color number, which is usually not a big deal. MUGEN already knows it, but sometimes whenever you have like a complicated sprite, you have to specify it. So now this tile bar right here, you only see this when objects are really moving, usually. Now what tile does is basically, the title of it. It'll tile, their sprite. It'll turn it into a lot, an infinite number, an infinite amount, or you can have 9, of the same sprite in a row, basically like a floor tile. So I can take my picture and I can duplicate it from 4 different sides. And so like that's really comes in handy. You can change the number to infinite, if you're having like a box or animation, like a line animation going upward. You're gonna want to have that sprite, repeat itself over and over and over again, so the animation never dies off. Because if you just have one picture and you make it move, your screen's gonna be blank. You won't have that animation there for very long. So that's a good way of manipulation to keep your animations going for a long time. Velocity is basically, the speed and acceleration of the sprite, which direction it's going to go. So the lower your number, the faster. The higher your number, it goes up to like 9, I think. 9 is a slower. So if you want to go like really fast upward, you have to put on the Y side of the text. This is the X side and this is the Y side. Left, right, up, down. So the lower the number, the faster. So if I want to have it infinite going up and down, I would set it to 1, Now correct me if I'm wrong, maybe the other way around. Anyway, I'm just going to go with that. So yeah, the X side, is if you want to go left and right, so on and so forth. Now you have your flurries. Now this is the same basically up here. Now for animations. Animations, like I said, is a bunch of sprites, one after another. So, and what MUGEN does is like, you have to type in this number. Like you have your, let me break it down for you guys before I get all into that. Alright, you gotta have it as type equals animation. You don't have to type out the entire animation word because MUGEN will know what you're talking about. This, how you had sprite numbers, like the group number and the sprite specifically, directed out into coding. Your action number is basically the group number of sprites, because MUGEN doesn't want you to specify it until you get down here. Your start is where your position will be at, and of course you have your transparency options. Now this barcode up here, the begin action 2001. Now the action number is 2001, so whenever you have to have this bar, because MUGEN won't know what to do unless you tell it what to do. So you have to have this bar here, begin action, and it'll be whatever your action number up here is, has to be the same number down here. Now, this is where things get kind of complicated for people that are just getting into coding. I know when I first started, I struggle with the real basics, the basic sprites or whatever, but animations can trip you up sometimes, so pay attention. The first number is the group number. Okay, the group number of the sprites that you have them all added into. You have a row of pictures or a ton of pictures. It could be like 9,000 of them. And you have the group number right here, that first number. That second number is the sprite itself. I'm really crazy, but this sprite number right here will show you, specify which sprite it is in the group. The X right here shows the position, Y position, the last number is speed. So let me go over that one more time. The first number is a group number. Second number is a sprite number. Fourth is the X and Y positions. The last one is the speed. So yeah, you basically have to go and tell Mugen like, okay, now after sprite 1, you have to go to sprite 2. After sprite 2, go to sprite 3. Basically you got to all the way down until you get to your last sprite. And then Mugen will automatically loop this. It'll start all the way back because it doesn't have an ending point. Now how you get an ending point is your last sprite. If you want an animation to end on the last frame, you put -1. That'll stop the animation at the last sprite. And what I really advise you guys is that when you're stopping an animation, make sure your last sprite is black or transparent, because you don't want your last frame to be stuck once your animation is done. You don't want that to just be there. I mean, unless you have it set up to where it's like that, usually make sure your last one is blank. Alright, faded designs. This right here is another type of coding, like I said earlier. That last number is usually your speed. Well, you can add another one. That'll be your type of transparency. So here we have the group number, sprite number, X and Y axis, speed, another comma, just to empty it all out. Then right here, this right here is your transparency. This is, I wouldn't say for expert people that know what they're doing with coding, but it does take a while to get used to. Basically, this right here is the opacity level for your sprites. Now, if you know what that means, it's like for a lot of you designers, you guys know when you lower opacity on a picture and you lower it down so it views more transparent. That's exactly what this right here is. This you'll see when you want sprites like an animation to fade in and out, or just fade out then fade in. So this right here is basically like the opacity level. This right here is the color level. Your sprites have to be 256 colors to be imported into Mugen. So you gotta make sure you tell Mugen that it's 256 colors. And this first number right here is basically your opacity level. Now what I do, to keep it safe, I keep my opacity level, I think it can go up to 256, but I keep it, the highest I'll go is at 224. You gotta lower it down each and every sprite if you want that kind of fading effect. So as you can see, I just have that repeating. Now, done with the title screen, your info box, basically that F1 key you press and it has all the info come up. Mugen 1.0 users are allowed to edit that, so you can type in whatever you want. And character select screen definition. Basically, if you guys know how to code, basic learners know how to use this. Fade in time, rows, columns, positions, and these are all basically self-explanatory. I told you guys about this in like the first title, in the first bar coding in the title bar section or whatever. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. They're all self-explanatory. You touch your cursor, your sound, and you just direct it to whoever your sprites are, or you gotta direct it And they're all self-explanatory. Like if you want the blank, you see they give you these little notes right here that you guys can read and see, what it all means. For the big portraits, you can have them facing, or you can have like the offset right here. It changes the position of it, of course. The scale, the basic is like 0.5, I believe. Let's see what else we got here. Name, stage select. You basically set your fonts and your offset. Right here, you can set your sounds for your team menus and positioning. I usually don't mess with these. Mugen did a pretty good job, or the creators of Electrobyte did a pretty good job on keeping those balanced and easy to use and manage. So the select screen, as you see, the only difference here is this bar right here. So now it says select BG instead of title BG. It's the same type of coding. Basically it's the same exact type of coding. There's only one type of coding for Mugen, and it's basically in the same thing over and over again. It's just a different type of bar. Your bar here will say select BG instead of title BG. So Mugen knows what you want to do and where you want to put your sprites. Demo mode, basically when your game is done, when nobody's playing it or touching them, playing around with it, it shows like a demo match. You can have everything enabled. If you want to show the versus screen, select screen. If you want to show the life bars when they're fighting, all that good stuff. The continue screen, which is only in, it is in it's in the basic Mugen, but it's also in 1.0. They give you a lot extra that you can use. The game over definition setup, just like the system .def setup and the .sff setup. You can use this, for your game over screen. Basically the same thing. You're just designing the same thing, same way you would do a logo or intro, the same way. Just they just give you an extra screen that you can use. Victory screen, you can enable it, you can disable it. Time it stays up. Fade in time, fade out time. The portrait offsets, the scale, like I said, is usually 0.5. You can keep it at 0.5. The window and all that good stuff. Victory screen, all the differences. It says Victory BG. The wing screen, you can have any kind of custom text right here. You can have your font, your display time, infinite, obviously, like I said, in ASD type coding. The fade in, fade out animations, the last frame animation you can stop. Game ending definition. This screen shows up after the win screen. If this character doesn't have an ending, this screen will show up by default. You can make one. Basically, like what I would put here is an ending to like your story. If you're making a story type Mugen game, you can have your ending put into an animation. And you could direct it here. So it'd be like game ending definition. And that def will tell Mugen what to do when it comes to that screen. Same for ending credits. Survival mode, your round survived. And people always get confused right here. This is where Mugen calculates how many rounds you survived. It's basically a win counter. So however many wins you had, you can put here. Or you can put round survived, you put 0, you suck. But there's a counter that Mugen has that you can put here, just to let Mugen calculate how many wins you really did have, which is just right there. Anyways, the wins text, you can set the font. You don't have to have the same font for everything. Display time infinite, fade in time, fade out time, rounds to win. Now your options is the same as the title and select, except you're using the option BG def right here. So you're using option BG in these little bars instead of select or title. Now that's just the basic rundown of the system.def file. Shout out to Reggie Man for requesting this tutorial. And if you guys have any more questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section. Don't hit my inbox. Leave them down in the comment section. like the video, subscribe to me. If you want more videos, let me know, and I do my best, to give you guys information what I can. And I think that wraps it all up. Yep. Well, stay golden, guys.